Welcome to the Divine Radiance Project with your host, Stacey Turner, and co-host, Emma McDonald, where we share all about reclaiming your radiance as women in business, holistic health, money, mindset, and juggling it all around mum life. A place for women to learn about financial independence, entrepreneurship, and balance. From women who aren't scared to speak their mind and their truth. It's time to shine your brightest self and be the lighthouse.
Hello, welcome back to this amazing podcast, if I, do say so myself. I am going to interview an amazing woman today. Her and I, you know what I mean, met in the most unlikely ways, I think you could say, which we will definitely go into in a moment. Her name is Michelle Saunderson. I knew I was going to get that wrong. She is one half of those two sisters. She's a police officer turned energy healer and believes that women can always be the best version of themselves, given the right tools, being a facilitator for all things empowerment. So she is, right up our alley. So I'm just going to let her tell the story because of how we met, because she tells it so well. Thank you for your time, thank you for being here. I can't wait to hear all your wisdom. But would you like to let everyone know how you and I met?
Oh, thank you for having me, Emma. It's been a pleasure. We've just had a chat before because I just interviewed Emma on my podcast as well. So we've been sitting here for a little bit. So it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you on a deeper level. But yeah, I met Emma in like the most crazy, I've had crazier since people, but still synchronistic, a beautiful synchronistic meeting. And I always believe that when you're open, you meet the right person at the right time, the person that you need in your life. And what happened was I am a pickup point for the Spray-Free Pharmacy, which is a locally owned business who provide vegetables fresh from local farms that have no sprays on them. And they drop their vegetables at my house and I'm the pickup point. So this is people come to get their vegetables. And I like to sometimes, if I have enough time, I work from home, but if I have enough time and I hear someone on my front deck, I'll often stick my head out and say hello, just because I love to speak to people and I love meeting people. This particular day, I had someone on my deck and I popped my head out and I was greeted by this grinning little, I think she might have been 3 or 4 at the time, little girl, which is now I know is your daughter. And I started talking to you about things, and all Rory wanted to do was come inside my house and see what was going on. And she had such a beautiful energy. I said, yeah, come in. And I know you were mortified. So she's come into my healing space and we had all my musical instruments out, and then Emma and I just hit it off. We've got very much a lot in common. We're very much about women empowerment, natural, we're both hippies basically. So we chatting quite quickly, and little Rory just took over, went into my daughter's bedrooms and had a play with all the toys, and which I loved. And I know you were like, oh my God, I've just met this woman. What is going on? But yeah, we had a really beautiful conversation, and I think I might have given you cacao. I can't remember. But yeah, it was probably at least 45 minutes to an hour later, we were still chatting. And that was a couple of years ago we've worked out. And since then we've kept in touch and watching each other. We both live in the same suburb, but watching each other grow and flourish and just become better versions of ourselves on social media. And then we do see each other face to face every now and again. But yes, I was really excited to be on your podcast. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for popping in and getting your veggies that day.
Yeah, I mean, what are the chances? We'd actually been getting spray-free veggies for a couple of months before we actually met. And I don't think I ever told you how originally a business coach had come into my mind, been in that field of awareness. But I was at work and I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she was telling me how she got this new business coach and that it was helping her be able to brand online because she's a naturopath as well. And I was like, I need to do that, but I don't even know where to start. Like, how do you find a business coach? And she was like, but don't worry, business coaches find you. And I was like, well, okay, I'm up for that. I believe that people come into your life when you need them to, or leave for that matter. But yeah, and no joke, that next week was when you came out to say hi when we picked up the veggies, and my daughter was slobbering all over your, beautiful instruments. And I was like, oh man. You were so patient with me, and her. But yeah, and then I saw your flyer up in your office there, and I was like, business coach, what the heck? Like, that was wild for me. So then we were talking, and you had mentioned you had this taster, which you can explain a little bit more because I won't do it justice. But we did some work together with your sister Di, who's the other part of those two sisters. And really, what you did for me was just, I can't even put it into words, because it set me on this different trajectory, which I will be forever thankful for. But I remember sitting on the couch doing this voice memo with you. Rory was laying on me, I was sobbing, and I was like, I feel like I've hit emotional rock bottom, and I don't know how to come out. I don't know what this next period of my life looks like. I've lost my spark. I just am lost. And you said to me, I can't exactly remember, but you were like, but what do you want? And I was like, I just don't want women to feel like this in motherhood, that they're worried about being judged for doing certain things as a mum. I don't want for women to feel like they don't have a way out of feeling like this. But that's what I want. I just don't want people to feel like they have no way out, or they don't know who they are. And you were like, Emma, that's it. That is it.
So
at the end of the day, go out and do that. And I was like, okay. So then, the story of now how I work in a clinic, and in an amazing opportunity with a homeopathic doctor, which I'm learning next to, and actually she's going to join me on a podcast at some point. And then finding Monat and this online platform of empowering women, which I know obviously you stand for. I mean, you went from being a police officer in, I think, one of the most masculine industries to being an energy healer. Like, how does that happen?
It's crazy. I still laugh that that's actually it for me, because I was a police officer for 23 years. It wasn't like I just dabbled for a year or so, like 23 years, my whole life, basically. I joined when I was 21. And yeah, 23 years later, I was still in the police, doing different roles, but in the police. And yeah, I was always a little hippie. I was brought up, my mum was quite alternative. Back in the day, it was big. She pretty much was how we all eat now. Well, what's the cool way to eat, which is plant-based and gluten-free and dairy-free and all the sugar, all that stuff that's really trendy now. My mum started me on that when I was a baby.
Wow.
I was actually born with they told me I had arthritis. Mum would pick me up, and as a baby, she'd stand me up, as you do with babies, and I'd scream blue murder. Anyway, they took me I haven't sort of told many people this, but they took me to the doctor, and they said she's got full arthritis. She'll be in a wheelchair by the time she's 5.
Wow.
And yeah, Mum said, well, what can I do? Like, I must be able to do something. And they said, there's nothing you can do. Only thing you could do is just put her on a clean diet. And so
surprising that they said that then.
Back then, I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I think Mum was already very sort of that way inclined. She's very intuitive. She doesn't practice her gifts, but she's certainly got that side. And so she put me on goat's milk. Like, so the thought of goat's milk to this day makes me like, ugh. So I was full dairy free. I was having carob Easter eggs. As I grew up as a child, all we ate was vegetables. Steak and what's for dinner, Mum? Steak and veg. What's for dinner, Mum? Steak and veg. What's for dinner, Dad? Sausage and veg. But 12 vegetables at least on our plate every single day. Chocos, bloody zucchinis, Brussels sprouts, all the greens. Oh, well, Mum and Dad yeah. Anyway, it wasn't particularly, Dad would just slop it all on your plate with all the liquid around it and the ends still on the carrots, nothing peeled. We never got sick, ever. But we didn't have processed food. We didn't have the dairy and the gluten and all the shit. I think I went to McDonald's for the first time when I was like in grade 6 or something because I won an award where you get the burger. You know, you get an award and you get a cheeseburger and your photo at Hungry Jack's. And our treats were fish and chips on a Friday night as we got older, and that was it. And I never progressed with this so-called arthritis that was going to have me in a wheelchair.
Wow.
So it's amazing. I still sometimes get a little bit of joint pain, but it's not there. I don't know. It's just not there.
Props, mum and dad.
Yeah, go mum. Yeah, go mum and dad. They're just healthy. That's all we ate. Vita Wheats was the most exciting thing in our cupboard. Vita Wheats and Vegemite. That was excitement. The rest was just pure clean eating. And that's all and the beautiful thing was that I grew up with that. So that's all I knew. So that's how I eat now, because that's how I grew up. But yeah, I was open already a little bit hippie wise to these sort of alternative methods. And mum was into like just the neighbor. It's funny because the neighbor was a full-blown homeopath and still is. She's like got PhDs in thyroids and she's quite well known in the homeopathy world. And so she lived right next door. So she would do all the stuff, kinesiology and us as kids, and mum and her talked. So I was in the good hands, basically. So I was always that way inclined. And I got a gift voucher from, I think it was mum actually, to do an energy healing when I was about probably 7 years ago now. And I went, yeah, okay, because I was open. I thought, oh, if the worst comes the worst, it'll be a meditation. I'll just relax. And in that healing, oh my God, it was like craziness. I was like shaking around the bed. So she started talking about full moon and I'm thinking, this woman's batshit crazy. You know, like crystals and moon was a little bit too far-fetched for me. So she started telling me about crystals and the full moon and these rituals she was doing. And I'm thinking, okay. Anyway, so whatever, I was open. So I lay down and she hadn't even touched me and my hands started to have electricity come through them and seized up. So when she put her hands on me, they started to move. So they seized up, like I say, like a TENS machine, you know, in the TENS machine at the physio, and if they turn it up too high, your muscles start to become rigid.
I hate that feeling, but yeah.
Yeah, my hands sort of went up and then they like went like four and then out all by themselves. And I'm like, holy crap. And then I couldn't control it. I couldn't. And it was just energy. And yeah, I realized they went from like flat to out to receiving. So they were palms up and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then the wave would come and my hands would just close back down and then they would open. And then all of a sudden she had crystals up the middle of my body and my body started shaking like from side to side. I could not control it. My arm started to move out all by itself. I'm not crazy, by the way. You know.
No, she's not crazy.
It's what I realize now is it's Kundalini energy. I was having a spiritual awakening. So all it is, it sounds crazy, but all it is energy rising up through your chakras, and it's Kundalini energy, which then moves. So it's like a DNA shape. And as the energy comes up like that, obviously that causes a rocking motion. So crystals flying off my body. Energy is so strong that's moving my arms out into like weird shapes. And then next minute I get folded in half. This is what threw. So I could feel my stomach was starting to like tense and do like little movements. And as it's doing that, my body's coming up into a V shape. So it's arms up like this and I'm getting pulled up. And I didn't have the stomach strength back then to do this motion. I tried to show someone the day after. I couldn't have done it because I didn't have the core strength. And it wasn't like this. It was very inch by inch, like incremental. So I went from being flat to slowly over a couple of minutes coming up and being my arms feel like they're getting pulled out of the sockets at this stage. I'm freaking out. I'm saying, Vicky, out loud, Vicky, what's going on? She's like, it's okay, Michelle. It's just energy. Just breathe. This room is completely protected. It's all energy. They're trying to tell you something. Meanwhile, my hands are nearly at my feet. I'm literally in half, folded in half. My hands are on my toes, and I'm feeling like my arms are getting pulled forward. So I can't control this. And by that stage, I'm like, okay, well, in my head, I'm like, what do you want? you're trying to tell me something. What the hell do you want? Like, it's pretty forceful. And I just, in my head, just got a message. I didn't hear anything. I just, in my head, it came that you should be doing this type of work. I was like, what? Like, no, I'm a police officer, mother of two. No. But anyway, I went through it. And anyway, that opened up so much after that particular healing. All this stuff I was journaling, I started to be able to automatic write all of a sudden. So I was channeling like pictures on my thing. I could write automatically, which is like messages coming through my hand would just go into these really deep messages coming out on my journal page. Once it got that forceful, I had to ring my friend who was a healer. I'm like, because it never occurred to me that it could be bad. I've just always been positive. And I thought, oh, but this actually is so strong. Is this good? She goes, no, it's just really full. It's just quite strong energy. Go out and ground. And it was fine. And all this stuff just started happening. It was weird. And so I just, again, just followed everything that went along, and I got, all right, well, I better go do some sort of training if that's what I'm meant to be doing. So I went and did a Reiki course. And yeah, it was okay. Like, I enjoyed it, but it was very structured. So I started practicing, but I found myself moving a lot and going around people's bodies and doing movements with my hands and making these noises. So I thought, I'm just going to call myself intuitive energy and use my intuition rather than do this course and do this and do this. And as I just trusted my intuition, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. To then I started being able to channel. People then started having physical experiences like I had on the bed. I've got a video of it, actually, of a woman who, it was a client, long-term client. So she was quite attuned, and we'd worked together for a while. And yeah, she got pulled up in the exact same motion that I was. And I got that, we happened to record that one because we had so many crazy things go down in her healings. We said, we just have to record one day. So I just put it here on Zoom, and the bed was behind me, and she got pulled up in the exact same motion that I did. And you can see it's not humanly possible. So yeah, I just kept following and following. I ended up doing a course. I've got a whole podcast on this too, if your listeners want to listen to it. It's called the Soul Stories podcast. My first episode is this story. But yeah, I just, anything that popped in front of me, if my intuition, if I felt it was the right thing to do, I just said yes. This course came up. It was a shamanic course. Didn't even know what it was. But my healing friend had suggested that shamanism, she got a message that that was possibly what I needed to do. So off I went to this course, didn't even know what it was. And then the lady, I was watching her, and she was doing exactly the same motions that I was doing. Exact same hand movements, exact same sounds, exact same everything. And I was like, oh, shit. I've been actually practicing shamanic style healing, and I didn't even know what shamanism was. So that was pretty trippy. And then all this other weird stuff went down. So I started to practice it, and then I eventually went part-time in the police. So I was called myself Michelle Ann Soul Healer, and I was just doing energy work and healings and meditation. Cacao, I fell into cacao, which was shamanic. And then, yeah, one thing led to another. I just kept dropping days at work and focusing on my business. And then my sister and I decided, well, why don't we join forces? So we became those two sisters. And then, yeah, I just kept dropping days. So I was only working a couple of days in the police and majority in my business. But literally one day I was out in the firing range, like kitted up with all the stuff, clearing a house, like from an active shooter who's running around a school building shooting people. And I'm there like clearing stairwells, shooting these people, like all practice, obviously. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? And then that night I was running a cacao circle, holding women while they're bawling their eyes out, holding space, and with sage and cacao and oils. And I'm thinking, this doesn't really match. It doesn't, how is this happening?
So jarring, like, yeah.
Yes, but I did bring all my spiritual stuff into the police. Yeah. I made my office, because I had my own office by then, I was a sergeant. I made my office and my workspace align with my life the best I could. So I had my oil diffuser in there. I had men lining up like detectives, blokey blokes wanting the smelly, what smelly stuff have you got today, Saundo? Putting the oils on. They wanted to hear had crazy stories. They always wanted, what sort of crazy stories have you got for us today? I had them all doing meditation in their lunchtime. Time out, we had 4 teas. So it was 10 minutes time out on a Tuesday or something where they would come in and do meditation. And yeah, so I managed to blend the worlds, which was beautiful.
Which is what it needs, because
It needs that.
if anything in the couple of years, the last couple of years has taught us, right, like there's definitely workspaces that could
Huge
TLC, right?
use that. And I still love my job, but it didn't fill my soul. It wasn't my passion. I made it the best I could, and I enjoyed going to work. But yeah, it's part of it just wasn't me. So eventually, thank you, COVID-19, I refused to get the vaccination for my own personal reasons. I actually had a rash from head to toe. I don't know if you know that, Emma. I was covered with this disgusting rash, so bad I would cry half the day. Like, it was agony. The only relief I could get was a boiling hot water in the shower. It was so just horrible time, and nothing would fix it. They just like cortisol cream. I'm like, no, there's more to this. It's not just cortisol cream. So I refused to do the cortisol cream, tried everything, the oils, all the alternative, nothing was working. So when they said you have to get this vaccination, I was like, I can't. Look at my body. Like, there's no way I'm putting anything in this more than what's going on here. Something's going on. I haven't got to the bottom of it. I've had all my jabs up to this point. God, I hope your podcast will probably get banned because I said the word.
No, I don't think anyone monitors that stuff
Okay,
now. That's
good.
why we decided to do it on a podcast. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I'd had all my other ones up to that point, but I was like, I can't put something in my body. This is clearly something's wrong, and I don't know what it is. And I got a doctor's certificate. I found a hippie doctor who said that she agreed. And yeah, she only gave me about a 4-month exemption. So in 4 months, all they had to do was come back and say, right, now you have to get it. But they didn't. They just denied the certificate, and I got terminated.
Wow.
So 2 years later, thank you, here I am in my business full time. So I was forced, because I was in fear, obviously, of a single mum, 2 young girls, mortgage, like security. Police was my security. If anything went to poo, I've always got a job in the police, and I could go back full time if I wanted. And I was a sergeant, so I had good money, good super, rec leave, sick leave, the whole thing. My car was salary sacrifice, had perfect life.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
So thinking about that intuition and your body's response before all of that kicked in, do you now look at that as your body was like, you were being protected just overall, not only to probably get you out of that industry or, to be focusing more on what your purpose is, but literally your body was like, do not do this.
Yes. And to be honest, I was always didn't feel right when they were saying you have to get it. Like with or without the rash, I was probably going to be not quite in agreement. But to be honest, if I didn't have it with all the pressure they were putting on, lose your job, I may have been persuaded to get it. I don't know. We don't know until it actually happens. But that was like a no-go. There's no way I was going to put something foreign in my body when it wasn't coping with something already. So yeah, I look back on it as that thing, that horrible thing, and I'll show you photos. It's like literally put me on the right path.
Wow.
Still don't agree with how they did it and what happened, and I'm still fighting in court. But it really made the decision for me. And I'm not saying there hasn't been horrible, scary times in the meantime. Like it's terrifying when you suddenly have no income and you're relying on your business. And meanwhile, my last pay was the 24th of December. So Christmas Eve, 2 young kids, and they say no more pay. And when anyone that has a health and wellness business, most people over Christmas, anything to do with self-development, everyone just shuts down. It's Christmas. Don't spend any money. And January is pretty much the same, and November is usually pretty much the same. So I got the sack in, I think, end of October, early November. So there's 2 or 3 months where I was like, wow. I had many, 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 many sleepless nights thinking, how am I going to survive? So I was really lucky my parents were on board. Yeah. All my family didn't end up getting. My brother ended up getting it only because he was a teacher and he didn't have any other option. But all of my mum and dad never, all the kids get it. And I don't care anyone that has or hasn't got it, but I was supported. So, my dad helped me pay the car, because the car, that was one of my biggest stresses. Just before I broke up with my partner, he wanted to salary sacrifice his car. It was still in my name, but he was driving it. So I knew as soon as I stopped getting a wage, that huge car loan, which was a way bigger car loan than I would have ever chosen. I was against the fact, but I gave in. that's in my name. So I had like a $30,000 frigging loan on my name.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I either had to get paid out or I was going to have to pay off for however long. It's some ridiculous. So yeah, my dad helped with that, thank goodness. So yeah, that's how we got through that period, and that's how I ended up on the path that I'm on now. And now I feel fully aligned.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, we're not up here, when we're talking about women empowerment, like generally if you're in this space, you have had rock bottom somewhere.
Yes.
And rock bottom can look different for everybody. And no one's sitting here going, our life was easy and this positivity just is a thing and it comes from nowhere. A lot of the time, there are so many hardships that people go through, but choose the positivity, choose to see that there has to be a bigger reason why crap stuff happens.
Yes.
Crap stuff happens to good people all the time, right?
Yeah.
And whether it be soul contract, whether it be, just a life lesson, whatever it is, like there is a reason. I really believe that. And I'm sure you do too, but it's that intuition. Like, I feel like that word has really come up for me while we've been talking. Like, you are just the essence of intuition. Everything. I mean, I don't know your whole life story, but just from the last 7 years, like all of this transformation that has happened, it's not short, like it happened over a period of time. Like, for anyone that is listening, you could feel like you're at rock bottom right now, and the next 7 years be the most incredible transformation you could have ever imagined. I don't care whether you're 20, I don't care if you're 65. Like, there is so much room for that growth if you just be brave enough to listen in to that intuition. Like, your body had a massive rash basically telling you not to do something because you felt in your soul, and your body's response is to do something. I have had similar experiences where your body's like, no, that's not quite right. I will do quickly explain it, but it's also a bit controversial. So I had a vaccine injury myself. When I was 21 years old, I had from the Gardasil vaccine, and it was my third vaccine. 2 weeks later, I had these massive lumps from my knees to my feet. No one could tell me what was wrong. All they did, all the cancer checks, whatever you could do, I had done. And what they came back and was like, oh, it's just been a virus. And I'm like, how does a 21-year-old that is perfectly healthy have a virus and not know, but have a response so significant? I couldn't roll over in my bed without my legs hurting. That's how bad it was. And my mum and I did a lot of research. None of the doctors would acknowledge what we were suggesting. And it just sent me on a trajectory into natural health and advocating. But that intuition, from then on, I was like, hang on a minute. I then went into having cervical dysplasia,
wow,
whatever that word is, where your cells become affected. And I was like, what? You just told me to have a vaccine and now I have precancerous cells. Sorry. So then from there, they were like, oh, let's do the ablation, but 80% of your cervix will be affected. So maybe you'll have problems carrying to term if you have babies. And I was like, how does a 21-year-old make this bloody decision to not have a surgery where they're telling you, well, you could have cervical cancer if you don't have this done? And I was like, no, I forget it. At that time, I met another woman. I worked for her, and she introduced me to, I don't know if you've ever heard of Don Tolman or Tyler Tolman.
Yes. Yeah.
So I didn't love everything that they talked about, but it opened me to a world of thinking about things differently, especially looking into things in the pharmaceutical industry. So from there, I was like, okay, I've got to take control back, right? So then that opened a whole nother world, but it was intuition that told me something isn't right. Find it out. And that's, again, that's how we do what we do. So I mean, if you had one bit of advice that you could give women, whether it be on the healing front, on a business front, whatever, what would it be?
It all comes down to the intuition piece. I just wrote a chapter in my sister's latest book, And again, I just said yes, even though I was terrified, but the whole chapter was about this exact topic.
Wow.
And it was about faith and trust. So I've always said that the word fat is actually banned in our household. The kids are not allowed to use it, just to hate it. We exercise, we eat healthy, so we're fit, strong and healthy. And so, but the word fat is not banned in my business. It's one of the biggest, most important words, because faith and trust is the thing that will get you through over everything. And when you have faith and trust, that's when your intuition comes in. And during that chapter, I thought it was going to take me, I don't know how long it takes to write a book chapter. I've never done it. I was thinking, oh, it's going to take me weeks. I'm busy. It took me 2 hours because it just flowed through me. And I reread it to my friend the other day and I said, wow, that is really good, because I was basically talking about the 2 clubs. So I called it the GSD club. I just made this up as I was typing. The Get Shit Done club, which was in the police, which had all these really strict rules about it. You know, that you had to do this, you had to work nonstop, you couldn't have breaks, your family came last, your business came first, or all that stuff, versus, and I called it Auntie Flo. Different to Aunt Flo. Aunt Flo's your period.
Yeah.
Auntie Flo being your intuition. And she's looked at it as a little bit of the crazy cat lady, and she's been in your life for a long time, but you haven't actually embraced her. You've just pushed her off as being the crazy cat lady, old Auntie Flo. So, but then it's moving from the get shit done into embracing Auntie Flo and your intuition and how the rules change. And then I've come up with this beautiful new set of rules. It was just, I was like, I'm a genius. It was really beautiful. It just weaved in with the story of my policing and how I moved from the police into this, and how I've changed from Get Shit Done, GSD club, to the club with Auntie Flo at the realm. And yeah, so my biggest piece of advice would be to trust yourself, have faith of some sort, whatever you call it, whether it be religion, Christianity, Buddhism, universe, spirit, whatever you call it. Have that, practice it regularly, and trust yourself and your intuitive nudges. So I call it the breadcrumbs. And if you go back in my life, I can see all the breadcrumbs. One day I will write a book myself. I've actually already started to pay off my publishing package. Yeah, so I will write a book because I've got so many. That crazy story I told you at the start, I wish I've written them down. I have hundreds of these crazy stories. They just get crazier and crazier. My new word is weird, not weird, because I've gone beyond thinking things as weird, because I've seen so much weird stuff. It's just become normal now.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff goes down in my healing room. I channel, like, stuff comes through my mouth in different languages that I don't even know what I'm saying. And the client goes, you know, you spoke to me in French, or do you know this? Or you actually said my dead mum's name. I was like, what is going on? People having these experiences on my healing bed. And I was like, I don't even know anymore. It's just keep going. And lately I've been really touched on it in my podcast, but going into the feminine side of the body work. And now all these women suddenly just randomly messaging me wanting healings booked in. They come and they sit on my couch over here, they burst into tears, and they're like, they're all in these really strong masculine roles and they're lost. They don't know who they are. I'm like, and I just look in there, I was like, you don't know who you are because you're just in your masculine. You don't even know what feminine means. You ask them and they don't even know what feminine means. So then I drop them back into their heart space and everything just changes for them. So taking people out of their head into their heart space, which is like your logic into your intuition and your faith. So your faith and your trust is in your heart. And if you're in here all the time working in a masculine role, or a busy mom, or someone that just if you're in the GSD club, in the Get Shit Done club,
Get Shit Done club,
you're not in your heart space, you're up here.
Yeah.
So it's about my whole message, and it's been weaved ever since I started my business. I never put my finger on what it was, but now it's all come out, is it's head to heart, dropping women from their head space into their heart space. And my new modality to use to help women is called this Kunyin. It's feminine energy in motion, and it's dropping women into their physical body. So we do feminine work, but we also embodying it with physical movement. So opening women's hips up, it's somatic body work, it's moving. It's just incredible. It's changing my life. And I'm going to become an instructor. And I've just created this whole course called the Inner Love Circle, because I wanted to become an instructor and I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. Like, it was a big investment. And I'm like, hang on, I can actually invite 6 to 8 women to come along the journey with me and get everything that I'm learning and feel like a place of a really strong container, a bit like Soul School was, and actually teach them this modality while I'm learning. And then that's now how I paid off my investment. I was like, I had this realization one morning. I was so excited. And my sister Diane, we're like so in tune, messaged me the exact morning without me telling her, Michelle, I've got this idea. It's up to you, obviously, but I think you could create something where women, and explain the whole thing that I'd already had decided. And so now we have 6 women, 5 or 6 already in the Inner Love Circle. We started in February and we've got another 2 or 3 that I'm calling in. And they're always, it's these women on my couches, they're people like busy mums or in their masculine. And now they're presenting in front of me. Like literally, it's like someone's picked them up and just dropped them in. Randoms that come out of the blue that I spoke to a year and a half ago, just message, I don't know why. I've been dreaming about you. I've had this intuitive, I just feel like I have to be. Some of them go, I don't even know why I'm here. Boom, they're crying. Next minute, I'm channeling and doing my thing and putting them on the bed and doing my jujus, and they come out feeling like $1 million.
And
I
the
don't
thing
know.
is just like higher powers, man. Like I
Yeah.
can only imagine the weird, as you say, things that you encounter. And not everyone will have this, because
No.
I believe you are chosen. Like you can only be handed what you can handle. Like no one, if you have a healing, not everyone's going to have the same response you do. But I feel like that response has to be, or there might be some background
movement,
but there could be like this whole awakening. Doesn't happen to everyone, but there are different levels. There are different responses to what you're putting out there, I suppose. So I cannot different. Wait to hear more about that. But if you could do anything and time and money weren't a block, you could just, I dream of Jeannie, like blink it and it happened. What would you want to do? What would you do?
I feel like I'm doing it now. Like other than like literally I have every day I wake up, I'm like, I literally feel like I've got the dream life. I wish I had more clients because I have so much to offer. But with the world the way it is, and I refuse to believe that you can't run a business. That's just bullshit. I don't even watch the news. But it's tight at the moment. And I just love watching the change in these women. And my dream would be that I would have the flow of clients that I need to be able to just be able to decide to do that course and not have to think about it. Yeah, so that's my calling. I want to do that. Let's go. Pay it in full. See you later. That's what my dream is. Because at the moment, that's probably the one thing that's holding me back is just the amount of clients coming through is just not, I'm still here. I'm still paying the bills, but it's tight, it's stressful at times. And I refuse to give in because I just have faith and trust that I'm here for a reason. So that's the biggest thing. And I'm bringing in my partner. Come on, please. I'm ready for this king I can't wait. So he's on his way. And with that, I really would love to move house. I've been in this house for I built this house and it's just getting old and run down and it's not big enough for the kids, and I'd like a pool. And so I'd like a beautiful, bigger space to practice what I'm doing. But other than that, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Like seriously.
To have created a life that you don't need a holiday for.
No, my life is a holiday.
Slogan. Like I feel like you perfectly have summed that up.
I don't need a holiday. My life literally is a holiday. Like I travel. So I just come back from America. I travel with my sister. We go interstate. We go around Australia. We run events here, there, and everywhere. I just like to travel with less cash restrictions.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate thing. But I still travel. I still do it because I make sure I make it happen.
But it's awesome that you can say that, because there's so much of money blocks that I think women do have, and not to like to say I want to do something and have an ease of cash flow or freedom to choose what I want to do when I want to do it. Like I think everyone puts so much stigma around money and it being a hush word, and if you say it you're selfish or there's so much around that. But to be able to say, you know what, I am doing what I want to do, which not everyone can do, which not many people can do. But to just be like, abundance of it. We just want to do more of
Yes.
it. And I definitely learned a lot of that doing Monate. And even though it's network marketing, there's whole stigmas around that, like a lot of that I had to work through as well, and going, no, I love it so much, but I want to do more of it. The more customers that I can help with their hair, make them feel good, help them with their health, like, do it, but on a larger scale. That's the point. You shouldn't be doing something that you don't really want to do just to get paid.
No, not at all. No, agreed. 100% agree. But I do feel for me that flow is very close to coming. This course, I just know it's changing stuff. And this inner love circle just feels so aligned with me. I feel it's like the piece that's been missing. And I just know, because up to that point, everything we've been doing has mostly been driven by my sister. We both have completely the same values, and we believe in everything, but it's always been her content. And I'm tagging along, presenting, agree with everything we teach, everything, but it's not coming from my soul. Whereas this new course is mine. She's actually coming in as a participant, which is huge. Cool. And it's vulnerable work. I'm going to be vulnerable with people. You're going to see me as vulnerable as you would participants in this thing. And so I know that once I open myself and crack this side of myself open, the rest, because feminine is flow. So the rest, I think I've been blocking cash flow because I've been in my masculine for so long, being a police officer and a single mum with 2 kids. It's difficult to drop into your feminine. Do you know, your feminine's like being, but this thing's changing my life. I come in and do 30 minutes of this work, not work, like there's my little mat there. It's moving. It's moving, intuitively moving, really, to music is all it is. It's not rocket science. As soon as I started moving, it's funny, I've been teaching this stuff for a while, not knowing again that I was teaching it. I was taking women at our retreats through somatic bodywork, holding trauma, letting them release it through their physical body. I've been talking about pain and emotional stuff in people's hips for years now. And I've been taking literal yoga classes, not knowing what I was doing at our retreats when we'd have a yoga instructor come in on one day morning, and the next morning it'd be stretching with Michelle Ann. I'm not an instructor, but I've done enough yoga and stuff to know basic moves. And I would just teach people how to do intuitive stretching, which is what this Kunyin is. It's intuitively moving your body. So when your hips are tight, you move and then it breaks up all the energy. And since doing it, I've been able to, my yoga's improved because my hips have opened up. I can get my legs straight out. My stress levels have decreased. Everything's opened up for me. It's just incredible. So yeah, I know that when that's as more I do of that, the more abundance is coming my way.
Yeah.
Faith and trust, baby. Faith and trust.
We could just, we vibe on so many levels.
I know, it's crazy.
About so much, so many tangents, but I am conscious of your time.
Love it.
Thank you so much,
You're
as
welcome.
I said, for your time. Like, you are a wealth of knowledge and so inspiring. Like, just, I can't even begin. But where can people find you?
So there's, heaps of places. The one-stop shop is our website, which is www.those2sisters.com with the number 2. So those2sisters.com. Everything then can point you off to what you need. The taste testers on there, any quizzes or things we offer, because we have things from like free to next to free to $22 to $497 to $3,000 to $15,000. Like at any price point we've got covered. It's all on the website. But if you want to follow my crazy stories on Instagram, it's Michelle Ann Soul Healer, Ann with an E. So Michelle Ann Soul Healer is my personal Instagram where I share a lot of my life. And I think I love doing my story. It's fun. Yeah. So, yes.
No. And did you just say your podcast? Was that?
Yes, I've got a podcast. It's called the Soul Stories Podcast.
Yeah.
Episode 1 is my story, and then I interview people. Again, if you can't find it, it's on Spotify and all the places. The Soul Stories Podcast. If you can't find it, that's on my website too. You'll find the link to go through there as well. But yes, an inner love circle. Anyone? We got till February wants to join. Please reach out. I've got all written on a PDF with the prices and everything. So there's nothing hidden for me. I'm like, this is what I'm offering. This is how much it's costing. You either aligns and you're like, I'm ready or I'm not ready. And I love that. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been
welcome.
an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Listen, if you love what you heard here today, I would love for you to leave a super quick rating and a review. This helps the show get discovered by new people that need to hear what we have to share. Be sure to take a screenshot of today's episode and shout us out on Instagram, and we will shout you right back. You can find us on Instagram handles It's Stacey Turner and the.emma.mcdonald. If you'd like to find additional resources or work with either of us, then DM us on one of these handles today.